Elders had to go over to pick up their boys at the New Life Ranch, and Katie said they had to go pick them up, and then there was a family. So I offered to do a family sing-along here at the meeting, but they didn't. Still opted to go get their boys. She said Steve was pretty hot at sing-along thing. Really looking forward to that. So I'm going to review some things. Usually Kathy comes in and speaks first, or Samira, do you have things to present, or?
I don't.
So when Kathy comes in, I'll just let her.
She's ready. Let me go get her if you want to start.
Okay. And then they've got another meeting for the under 14 boys, so we'll get her stuff done, and then she can go tend to them when they come in. Ours will be a little bit longer because we also have England trip to talk about at the end. Tony and Jeff will talk about that. I've got a bunch of camps. The guy, he didn't do the shirts exactly the way I ordered them this year. A bunch of extras, which I had no use for. And then, of course, I still have some from other years. So if anybody's interested, I've got a few adult smalls, and then youth large and youth medium, which may not fit our guys, but if you understand, help yourself to those, because they'll just sit in the closet. I guess let me start out, and then when Kathy comes in, she can take it. Just start out with where we are right now. Okay, we have 26 players out of. We wanted up to 28, but 24 to 26 is kind of ideal. I think we cut about 5 or 6. The good thing is that there was at least one boy at tryouts that was a good athlete, and in years past, for almost any other team I've ever coached, he would have been a player I would have loved to have on the team to develop. But there were 26 players, as athletic with better skills. So unfortunately, the team fell out, but that speaks volumes for the quality that we have in this group. So anyway, so we selected 26 players. One player is already said he's not going to play. So we're down to 20. And when you have, and this is for some of the new folks, but when you have that many players, okay, you have some choices to make. A, you can make cuts, okay, and choose one team. Okay, you could, technically from the state, you could put them all on one roster and have 26 players on one team, or you can create 2 teams, which is what we opt to do. Okay? If we cut down to one team, it just wouldn't make sense. There's too much quality in this group. And what I would expect if we did that for however many players that fell out of that, some parent to step up and say, we've got enough kids here to have a team, so let's just go put a team together and we'll go to the tournaments we can compete at. All right? And the reason I bring this up is because when we divide into 2 teams, those teams will be called Comets O'Brien and Comets Rayner. But we don't hide the fact that it's a gold and a silver team. But what that means really depends on the compositions of those teams. What we're looking for is to take those 2 teams and put them into the right environment for those players to develop. And if the right environment is the same level across all of them, then that's what we do. We'd send them all to the same tournaments. But we want those teams to be able to go to the tournaments where they're competitive and allow those players to. When you're dividing into 2 teams in a club, we would divide equal. Okay, so it would kind of be a draft process, and you'd have 2 balance. But what happens is you've got some kids, and in our case, I would say we have 5 to 6 that are very high level. Okay, and then there are probably 5 or 6 at the other end that really need a lot more technical development. They just need to be in an environment where they can be if it's too high pressure, they won't have the confidence to try things and really make. So you've got those extremes, and then you've got this big pool in the middle that, you know, could benefit from either environment. But when we used to take those groups and make balanced teams, then one of those two extreme groups loses out. Okay? Either you're going to high-level tournaments that the lower-end players can't compete at, and so they suffer, or you're going to mediocre tournaments and you're not challenged in that high end. And eventually all these players come together into a full-sided team. And so you want players that have had the experience of playing the top comp, because the best environment from my standpoint as a coach is to have good internal leadership on the team. Okay, and it's not always the coach telling them what to do. There's internal leadership there as well. So that's how we arrived at the approach we do as a club with the gold and silver teams. We don't promote it that way. It's Comets O'Brien and Comets Rainer. And whatever level those teams need to play at, that's where we'll put them to play. Okay, so any questions about that? All right, I'll go over to Kathy and let her do her thing so that she can get on to the under 14 boys.
I'm Kathy Schimmel, for those of you that don't know me, and I am the club administrator for the Ingram Comets, which means I'll take care of most of the paperwork. Lori takes care of all the money. I take care of the paperwork. I also take care of the team accounts, so like your tournaments and all that type of thing. I'll take care of your travel permits, everything like that, to try and help the manager or the coach make sure everything's organized. Just a little structure of the club. For those of you who don't know, we have a board of directors that's made up of 6 people. Dave O'Brien, Frank Broadstreet, Chris Henry, Samir, Joe, and Steve Oliver. Samir is the director of operations, Steve Oliver is the director of coaching, and then I'm the club administrator. So that's kind of the structure of the club. We will have a Comet store at the Ingram facility and one at the Springdale facility. For those of you who don't know, there is a building being built to have a meeting room and restrooms and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to keep some of those things. And it will have regular hours. Obviously, I can't be in both places on the same night, so it'll be split between Springdale and split between Centerton, where I'm at night, and when the store will be, or when I'm on that field to take care of whatever it is you need, whether it's extra uniforms or what. My goal is to split it pretty equally between the two. The other thing is just the club structure as far as money. That seems to be a big question, and fundraising. The fee that you pay, the $450 that you pay to the club, takes care of your coaching fees, facilities, all that type of thing that generally is associated with running a club, not specific to your team, just associated with running the club. And then also you have your team portion, which is the $150 is a recommended amount for this team. And out of that comes all your tournament fees, your league fees, and any overnight stay that your coaches, that comes out of your team. And the reason we do that, a question that comes up at every meeting is why do we have to pay for the team, for the coach's room? Well, the objective there is that when you call and book those rooms, you get it free, so it doesn't cost anybody. So that's a little more incentive for teams to work together to get those rooms comped, so you don't have to worry about paying for that. There is $40 that comes out of the club portion that goes into the team portion to start everybody out, so that way you have enough money to first tournament. I don't know when Dave's first tournament is, but that way if we need to get it in prior to that September deadline, there is some money there to start out. I think this team has any issue with money, but for those teams that are new and they need that, we have. So you can fundraise that. I think you guys have already taken care of that, so I probably don't need to talk about fundraising with this team, but a lot of teams need to fundraise that. And that's the basic things. As far as we have the Comets Day, which I think is different. We have August 4th is Ingram Comets Day, which is happened in the past, where it starts out with a run, and then we'll come back to Bruner and Lay and have a picnic and 3v3 games and that type of thing. On that day, you will be able to buy the extra items that you want.